What's up, Profitable Stylist? Thank you for joining us today.
Are we live yet?
We are
We are
live. We
live.
have a very, very deep topic to talk about today, man. We talking about mental health in our beauty industry. Morning, Bernard. Morning, Giovanni. We got a
How's that
topic today, man.
going?
Well, I'm doing great. I see that Eddie's being all serious and somber because we're doing mental health,
I
and
want to have fun with it. We're
I,
going to
I
have fun with it.
I just figured the
It's a
intro.
serious
I'll do the
topic.
intro serious because it is a very serious topic.
it is.
I know out of the three of us, I'm the most mental out of all three of us. So I'm trying to.
That might be true. I don't know Giovanni's background. I haven't known him as long as you.
I'm
Go
happy
ahead.
to admit I'm crazy too, so it's all good. Just ask
So,
my wife, she'll tell you.
yeah, right. So I was a little nervous about this topic. I thank God for age, right? In my case, I'm 53, and I gotta say, I was less sensitive to lots of subjects and topics when I was younger. I chalk it up to just being young and dumb, and maybe you don't experience something, so you can't relate to it. And then as you become a boss and hire a lot of different people, and then possibly go through some smaller versions of some things, make you sensitive. Like I got vertigo a couple of years ago, completely dizzy, couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. And I used to think when people would say, I have vertigo, I didn't even know what it meant. And they would say, I'm dizzy. I'm like, come on, dude, just stand up and walk. Literally couldn't. And so that made me real sensitive to people who have problems with the brain somehow, the brain, the inner ear, the head. And I was thinking, man, a little short depression because I had a bad day or week, and I might be a couple of days where I just don't feel like doing a video or talking to other people. And I thought, man, if people had multiples of this where they get as close to as wanting to kill themselves in some cases, I start to barely get it. But I have to say I've been blessed. I have two parents that have never divorced. I had a pretty stable life. They had good money our whole life, and I really don't think I'm the best person to completely relate to it because I didn't. I had everything was so perfect in my life. Grew up in the New Orleans area, and I don't say it like in a bragging way, but I say it when people start telling me their challenges and problems. Like you, Eddie, you've come over, you told me your life, and I'm like, oh my God, I had no I had no struggles, no problems compared to you. So I don't think I'm completely qualified to talk about this topic. But the problem is, as a hairdresser, clients come in and they think we're therapists and they tell us,
I'll disagree with you. So one of the things in our friendship is I've always looked to you as an inspiration to what my life can become as far as stability goes.
oh, thank you.
So don't think just because you haven't run um, into any kind of heavy level of depression comes in many forms, and mental stability. Giovanni, what do you think on this one? I think depression and mental stability are two separate things. I view it as two separate.
I do too, and that's one thing that I was just going to mention. So the
And I'm
topic
picking on you
today,
for a minute only because I know you and I got some history too. And
we got a lot of similar background, but I would just say that mental health in general is multifaceted. There's a lot of different avenues that fit into mental health. And we should start there. We should start there with discussing what those are. So depression is one part of mental health issues. We also have things like, uh, um, I'm blanking here right now, but so depression, negative thoughts, suicidal thoughts, just being in an unhappy, mood all day long. Have you ever had a client who every time she comes in, all she talks about is all the things going wrong in her life? That is also a mental instability. That is something that needs to be talked about. And within this discussion, I think we should talk about the different sides of it, not only from our personal viewpoint and what we've had to overcome in our lives, but for Bernard, where he's coming from, he may not have personal experience in his own life to the extent that you or I do, but he has a lot of experience with dealing with people that are going through these things, the people that sit in your chair, the people that you employ in your business. And those are important things to talk about too, us as salon owners. How do we help our staff overcome these issues? How do we research and learn about these things so that we can be of more assistance to them and help them grow in their lives? Because the way that I look at my business is, if I want my business to grow, I have to start with the individuals working for me. And because mental health is such a prominent issue in today's world, it's something that every hair salon owner out there is dealing with, both from a client standpoint and from an employee standpoint. So all of that is stuff that we can discuss, today and further in the future, because it's obviously going to be a much bigger discussion than just 1 hour.
It is. And I love what you said. It is much more than just depression. And I guess that's my one the little depressing times where I didn't make a goal I wanted or didn't have as happy of a day, is my small feeling of what somebody might feel like magnified and more often and maybe all day, every day kind of thing. It's the closest I can get. But I love that you said that depression is a part of mental health, because you're right. Work-life balance can mess that up. People get service dogs. I know I don't have a service dog, but I know my dog Casper, who's laying on the floor right here. Because of that unconditional love, he always seems happy, at least happy to see me. It totally changes my mood when I walk into a room where he is right away. I can see how animals can help with mental health and happiness. And then you always hear, I mean, you can go back to almost any religion's teachings, or even business professionals that talk about how to live a better life. One of the common things that always comes up is you are like the people you hang around with. And that's part of controlling your mental health also. Don't hang, and you can't always help it with the clients. And sometimes you can help it. Boy, when you were saying it, I was thinking, right, you talked about the part where you feel bad after they come in. What about the part where they're coming in for a two or a day or two? Well,
that can single-handedly ruin your whole day. How many times have you heard one of the stylists, or I've done it myself. I'm like, oh crap, Susan's coming in at 4:00. It's 9:00 in the morning, and you're like, at 4:00 she's coming in. This day sucks. The whole day sucks, And it's one of those things where it's a psychological thing from the beginning, from when we're young. We are not equipped to deal with it. And through every generation, it has progressively gotten worse. How I mean by that is this. When our generation, when we were growing up, we were constantly told, hey, suck it up, stop being a little bee, and put your big boy pants on, right? Deal with it. Things like that. Now you look at the next generation and it's like, all right, here's a crayon, here's a blanket, go in your corner and be alone until you feel better. And again, I know that's not the right thing to say, or that doesn't sound nice, but.
Real quick, what is both of yours personal opinion on both avenues? Like, how do you feel about the way we were? I mean, because society and in the way that they're educating about mental health issues, do you feel like it's gone past the point and overcorrected itself into this
for sure
area over here? That's kind of what I was curious about, how you feel, because I feel like the needle was over here.
Yep.
And I'll use the term toxic masculinity. It was tilted over here because that's how we grew up. And then I feel like it's really gone over to this side, and we're starting to see that come back a little bit now, where it's starting to hit that point of balance. And I think that word balance is really the solution to mental health issues.
That's where I was going towards, because I don't. Okay, so I was raised very extreme.
Me too.
And so yeah, I am like I feel like I've been told on one too many occasions that I was raised by wolves. So, and you guys know, I ask you guys, especially you, Bernard, I ask you all the time, what's the soft way to say this? Or I'll say, I'm trying to say like this. How do I say it the nice way, how to say it? It's yeah, I was raised way extreme one way. It has gone way too soft the opposite way. It is starting to come back somewhere in the middle, and unfortunately it's going to take another, in my opinion, another 3 or 4 generations before we even find some kind of balance. That's my opinion on it.
Well, that's a great word that you just said, because I know when I was it's funny, I love the pendulum swing that you had there, Giovanni, because in my life, just in my relationship in a church, I've gone from nothing to heavy in one religion to another, and then swung back to, I was, not so much, and then trying to find that balance just in that area has been a challenge in my life. But because of that, I learned about some terms that I don't know if they use it in the exact right context, but it's always sat in my head like, wow, I didn't think about generational curses or generational problems. Sometimes people come into this world, possibly some you guys might be dealing with some of this, with these generational things that it's hard to kick because you just think it's fact the way your guardians or parents brought you up. And that's one of the things that I've become more sensitive to in Stylist. I was apprenticing a girl a year or two ago, and I get to meet the kids, and the cute little girl, and she's living with her mother. The mom's living with her mother and the grandkid, all in one house. They barely making it with income, and I'm thinking I might be the one to change the generational money curse in their family where they barely get by. I've got stylists that make really good money. She's never making it really good as a waitress, and now I'm going to change her life and go from a job to a career. But it was a struggle because I couldn't quite break through to, like, you've got to stay, you've got to show up on time, you've got to leave at a certain time, you've got to market aggressively. But there were the challenges where this particular person couldn't get along with the other stylists because part of her generational curse was don't trust anybody. And so I kept fighting that thing that she wouldn't trust the other stylists. So she was always accusing them of doing something to sabotage her life, and they weren't, and they would just get so mad and want to beat her down. And before you knew it, it was the first time I'd ever had to fire somebody that I wanted to keep, but nobody else wanted her around. That was a hard thing for me because I was like, I'm going to change this family's life. And hopefully the little bit that I did give and teach does change her better for the future. But I couldn't finish the apprenticeship program with her because she just couldn't get over some of the small things to be able to get along with the environment that we had. And I thought, I was hoping to change that and I think that is something that we don't always think about, is it's not just the here and now, it's that generations of stuff that's hard to break through.
It's generations. It also puts it in your how you call your self-image, your
just self-confidence,
confidence.
Yeah, what you think of yourself. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because if you're raised unconfident and unsure, then that follows you for a long time. And when when you're a little kid, it doesn't affect you as much as you realize until you become an adult and you get into the world and you see, man, the world eats you alive. It is a war zone out there. It's a rough place out there. It's not as fun as you think it to be, and it's like, I see it in my upbringing. It was always project your voice, be heard, stop mumbling. And it's like, dude, I'm talking. Like, what do you want me to start screaming? Like, what do you want me to do? And then I see it in this generation of, oh, they're so afraid to be heard because they are so unsure of what they're supposed to say because they were raised as they're winners. And they're raised in their phone in that digital world of virtual stuff that when it comes to being in person, they're not used to using their voice. So they are soft spoken. And unfortunately, in the business world, if you're not projecting your voice and if you're not projecting your energy, if you're not looking large, you're gonna get ran over like from the stampede. That's life. It's rough from both
Giovanni?
sides.
I'm listening, and I'm thinking to myself how I want to get us back on topic, because the mental health side of things is really what we need to focus on. So I want to take what you guys have said and then bring it back a little bit. So Bernard, you brought to life a little bit about the cell phones, and one of the things that I think is very important to talk about is, are cell phones good or bad? They're both.
Right.
And I think it's important that when we talk about work-life balance, something as simple as a concept but very difficult to do, that same type of balance that we put into place when it comes to work life is also something that needs to be specific to just your personal use with your cell phone. You have to find a work-life balance with your cell phone. And I think it's important to discuss, number one, the facts scientifically of how cell phones and social media has affected mental health in the generations that are going on right now.
Sure.
And how it's important for us as employers to help guide these young 20, 22-year-old, 24-year-old people that are starting their careers with us, how to teach that balance with cell phones and how to express to them without being demanding or whatever, in order for them to open up their minds to understanding the negative side of cell phone, social media, as well as the positive side. And how to, one of the things that personally I have done just with my cell phone is tried extremely hard to limit my scrolling and focus my attention. When I go on my cell phone, it's for a specific reason. So if I go onto Facebook or to TikTok or something like that, it's because I'm posting content that's going to hopefully, more than marginally increase my bottom line financially. And it's for that specific reason. Now, once I finish that, I find myself scrolling through TikTok and I'm like, oh, shoot, it's been 45 minutes that I just wasted and I should be doing something better with my life than scrolling through this BS. Now, take that with a grain of salt in the sense of, do I come home from work some days and just need to mindlessly scroll to get my head out of where it was at work-wise? Yes, but does that need to be conscious of how I'm thinking about it so that I can set myself a time limit? You got 30 minutes, bro. Scroll away and then go hang out with your family.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's all about structuring and finding balance in life. And that is in my opinion, one of the best tools is using that word balance, figuring out what that word balance means in every aspect of your life, from working out to eating healthy to going to work and how you are going to be at work, whether you're an employee or an employer or both. Cell phone usage, how you're going to transfer that over as a father and as a husband. It's all of those things that manage. I just had a conversation with my wife and my son, who's 11. He's going to be 12. He's dying for a cell phone, and he told me that he wants a cell phone last night. My wife was with my other son at basketball practice. And what did I do as
I can't believe you've gotten all the way to 12 without a cell phone.
Oh, yeah, and I'm trying to push farther. You know what I did with him when he told me that? I made him watch YouTube videos of every psychologist out there doing a TED Talk on why cell phones are bad. And I just said to him, I said, look, I don't want you to think that I'm not going to get you a cell phone, because that's not the case. You're going to end up getting a cell phone at some point. Right. My point is that you need to understand, because all he knows at 11 and 12 years old right now is all the fun. But he doesn't understand the negative side. So all I wanted to do was explain to him, look, there is just as much bad that comes with the good. And I'm not telling you this to discourage you from being happy and wanting a cell phone. I'm telling you this so that you understand how to be conscious of yourself. When you're on the cell phone and you start to feel wacky, get off. And it's your responsibility to figure that out and to know and listen to your mind and listen to your body. When you start getting wacky, like shut it off and know, like, I need a break. And you can only do that if you understand the negative consequences as well as the positive.
Right.
So
trying to be an influencer nowadays, trying to get that instant gratification, trying to get that like, that share, that subscribe, that whatever, everybody always asks for. When people are posting pictures and when people are posting memes and things,
selfies
and
are the big one.
And selfies, yeah, big time.
The more selfies you see on someone's profile, the more mentally ill they are, and that is scientific fact.
It's
it
unfortunate.
is scientific fact.
Because they're lonely, they're bored, and they're trying to reach out. It really is they're screaming for attention. They're raising their hand up, but they're not getting called on. And that's really the thing. There was this weird. It was really mean, but there was this weird experiment that I seen this dude do. He created some kind of a program that would automatically send a message, a private message, and he was doing it to these girls that are, on the OnlyFans, and they were posting stuff on Instagram, trying to get customers and stuff. So he created this thing that said, "Oh, good night, sweetheart. Hope you have sweet dreams," or I don't know, something like that. But it basically was good night every single day for like 6 months or something like that. And then right around the holiday time, Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year, he like turned the thing off to stop doing it to see what would happen. And the girls, and he kept tracking these girls, and they're all like, "Yeah, we were getting these messages. At first we thought he was a creeper. And now we've got used to it. And now all of a sudden we stop getting it and we miss it." And that interaction, that positive interaction, whatever you may think it is, to think somebody would say nowadays, "Good night, I hope you have a sweet dream," or hi, just saying hi to somebody randomly walking down the street. People, we're like, "Hey, who are you talking to?" On
Facebook Messenger, people send me a wave. The first thing I think is, what do they want?
What do they want, right?
Is this a hacked account? Is this a real wave? Is it a real high? It can be dangerous. I always, Giovanni said a few things that really stirred up some things in my life. And I don't mean this like the military means it, but when I say freedom is not free, I know freedom is at a cost to our military. But I also mean, like, when people want a free day, they want to have time off, or they say, "I want no rules, I want to be happy." You could kind of compare this to our children too. Children with no rules, no discipline. Are they happier than kids with discipline? Most of us would argue that kids with discipline end up being happier, because being completely free with no rules does not make you free and happy. It's weird how I like to use real strong terms, because it kind of makes you remember it whether you like it or not. But when we imprison ourselves, and that's what people think about rules, it's like, wait, what? I don't want to be in prison. But a rule and a structure might be a type of prison of sorts. And if you put these rules on your day, it's crazy how much I think we're made for organization. We love structure. We want to know what's coming when. And so it all comes right back to the balance we keep talking about. And I always think, like, how can people not know when they've been on TikTok too long? I can feel it. But I think it's because I had a good parent, kind of like Giovanni's doing now, that made me do all these right things with all these rules for a while. So now when I'm doing something wrong, like wasting too much time on Facebook or TikTok, I feel this weird uneasiness inside of me. And then I just turn it off. I turn the phone over, and I'm like, yep, that was too long. I don't know how long it was, but it was too long. I got to get to something that is meaningful. I got to go do something with the kids, the wife, maybe I'm at work, but I need to stop being ridiculous and wasting time. But I don't know if a lot of people have that filter inside of them to change them. So that's when you have to figure it off with some sort of structure and figure out. And this, what a great time of year. We kind of talked about our end of the year summary stuff. We did goals to start this year off with our staff. And I think that is part of the goal setting, not just for the year, not for your life, but for each day. Structure your days and your days off. When you go to work. And that is kind of the trouble. We talked a little bit about mental health in the salon world. One of the things that was a strong a strong challenge in the mental health world is hairdressers working in private rooms, the suite type of environment. Not that I hate rent over commission. As a salon owner, paying commission, sure, I favor commission, but I think it's because if the hairdresser makes more money, I make more money. I'm more directly connected to the hairdresser doing better because as a whole, we all do better. Whereas rent, I probably wouldn't care. But forget about that situation. That's just the money situation. But the caring is part of caring. That helps in mental health also. But being in that private room, I felt like was trouble. And it wasn't just about being in the private room. Nobody wants to be cooped up like that. First of all, it's kind of like solitary confinement in a way. And then if you have no clients, what do? That's where the challenges come.
Yeah, I want to bridge a gap between the two of you too, because Eddie was talking about, well, both of you guys. So you're talking about being in a space. Earlier, we were talking about handling clients with mental health issues. Now, personally, I've seen an uptick in the amount of mental health issues that have popped up in the salon in the last 3-4 years since COVID stuff. And I can only imagine, because I don't have to live it, what it would be like if one of my 22, 23-year-old stylists was in a room by themselves and dealing with that without having someone at my age and my experience able to help support them through those tough issues, when that client just wants to get on your case and not let go and not let up. You know, for someone that's new, stuck in a little room by themselves, that's going to destroy you.
It's a great point.
Because you don't have the confidence. So now you're dealing with someone else's mental health issues on your own with no experience in a private room by yourself. I mean, that to me is just a complete disaster. So, you know, what are some tools that we can offer these people? Because let's be honest, it's if they've already started their living doing this, it may not be an option for them to go work in a salon or whatever. So let's give some people some tools that we use in our lives so that they can maybe do better and put them into practice and help them through these things.
The first two things I wrote on our Facebook group, I had brought this up earlier in the week, and I was shocked how popular that post was. And one of the girls, when she was talking about her challenges and her problems, money came up. And so I love what you just said just now, because you're right. The experience of a boss or a salon owner for some time can help. Just a simple one. A hairdresser does, and their own fault, does a bad highlight or color job in my salon, and the client gets so mad, they're yelling, screaming, and cursing, and the hairdresser starts crying, wants to quit the profession because they make one mistake. That can be detrimental to a whole life and career. And I say, stop. It's okay. We all mess up. And you know what? At that point, it's like triage. They are both hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The client's hurt.
Yeah.
The hairdresser's hurt. What do? Well, in my case, I feel like I have to pick a side. I do try to make both happy as best I can. But at this point, I'm worried about a whole career of a hairdresser.
Right.
You know what? It's okay.
It doesn't mean the client's not important. It's just we're thinking long term for our personal business. I want to
make sure nobody misunderstands me here. The client is very important, but at this point, the hairdresser is a little more important to me at this point, because they might be losing a career over it because they're so distraught, think they can't do hair anymore because of one client. And I have to say, you know what? It wasn't right, but I don't think you did such a bad job that the client should be treating you that bad. We have a whole team here that can fix that problem. We're going to get it fixed. Don't worry.
And not to mention, hair can always be fixed unless you bleach and burn it off. But other than that one thing, you can fix anything with hair.
Right.
So for all the hair clients out there, we love you. We appreciate your support, but just chill out. It's just hair. It's okay. You might be there a little longer, but you'll be fine. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's okay. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to throw that in there, but yes, continue.
Oh, I appreciate it. So we need to fix that, no doubt. But for me, I'm always trying to save the hairdresser. And if you're, like you said, you're in a room by yourself and a client gets mad at you for some reason, what do? So the other biggest problem I find in the hair industry across the board is we are so close to our clients, so friendly with our clients. We feel like when we get booked solid, raising prices is not an option. I think that causes a lot of mental stress on hairdressers across the board, even new owners. And I am always given permission to raise prices. Now, not if you're a brand new stylist, you have no clients, but if you're 80% booked or more, raise your freaking prices. Because what hairdressers will do, they'll start coming in early, they'll start working later, they'll come in on days off, they're stressing themselves out, trying to do more and more and more clients because they're trying to make more people happy and they have no time. And that is one of the comments that came through on the group. She was not able to do all the clients that wanted her to do their hair. Raise your prices. And yes, you are hopefully going to lose 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 clients, but you'll make enough money or more. Yeah, but you'll make enough money to cover them. And that was number one. And the second advice I gave her was be strict with your hours. I can't say that was a good habit of mine. I used to work too many hours to hide in the problems, but I watched another hairdresser tell clients on the phone when we didn't have cell phones, no, Miss Jones, my hours are 9 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday. I said, Scott, you won't come in early? He said, no, my family life is too important. And I was like, wow, that was
I think that's an extremely huge thing to talk about because, you know, people like my dad were raised differently where they understood that having a career is the epitome of life and they put all their time and effort into it. And I'm pretty sure all our parents did.
Yeah.
But in the long road, when you realize how many things he missed and then you become a dad, then you start to think like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. Like my dad worked every Saturday. He very, very rarely was at one of my diving meets or football games or whatever on a Saturday. He would take off sometimes, but he wasn't there for every single one. You know, my mom was there for a lot of those. So it's one of those things where I look at my own personal way that I was raised, and I was raised to work like my dad. And then for the last 5 or 6 years, I took some steps back, and I even with my dad would be like, dude, you got to chill out. You got to stop working so much. You got to, you know what I mean? Because it is needed and it is important that you take care of that balance. And that's one of the major issues I can say for hairstylists that have been doing this a very long time. If you've been feeling stressed with work, even though you're making money and doing well, if you've been feeling stressed, cut it out. Stop making everybody else happy and sacrificing your happiness. Don't do it anymore.
Right.
If you lose a couple of bucks, it's okay. You'll still be fine. We all shut down for COVID and we're fine for 2.5, 3 months of no business whatsoever. If we can go through that, you can easily make a couple hours difference in your day and have some happy time for yourself. You know, that is a big thing that I think needs to happen across the board in the hair industry and the beauty industry, is that the customer is no longer the most important person. It should be you as an individual are the most important person in your life. And if you're not happy, nobody else is going to be. So just maintain that focus.
I'm glad you said it, but you said it after you said we care about the customers. You know, that old adage, the customer is king or customer is number one. I never operated like that. Customer is very important, but really my personal happiness as a stylist before I was an owner is more important than the client. As long as I'm doing all the right things and caring, sometimes those clients aren't so nice. And no, the Karens out there of the world are not going to be number one.
Right.
You have to swallow your pride. Look, anybody out there that's hurting, anybody out there that feels like they're alone and they don't have a good support network, there's this mentality for some people, especially if you're foreign. You know, you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you alone have to carry your family to the next future.
A little disclaimer here. Eddie is that person he's talking about right now. He's foreign, as he calls it. Go ahead, Eddie.
It's, you know, if you feel like you don't have a support structure, if you don't feel like you have anybody to lean on, right? You feel like you are alone and it's you versus the world. One of the hardest advices that I've learned myself, and I'll say it out loud right now, is swallow your pride. Who cares if You are the only one who thinks you seem weak. Nobody else thinks you are weak. Only you think you are portraying yourself to seem like you are weak to everybody else. So if you need to, listen to a TED Talk, listen to a Tony Robbins motivational, some kind of motivational video, speaker, something. In this scenario, this is where the technology nowadays is better than ever. Better than ever. You have all the social media out there with positivity that you can use to get to start your day straight if you are not trained and if you are not in the habit to do that already. Okay? When you wake up in the morning, do you make your bed or do you go straight for breakfast?
Do. I don't. I know.
I make my bed every day.
I do.
Wow.
And you know what? And for a long time, I stopped doing push-ups first thing when I first woke up. I stopped doing my runs like how they used to make us do, when we were in training, and those little things, it sets your brain, like it sets your mindset in a world that you don't realize. It's a habit that you do, that you view it as a chore, and chores are not fun things to do. But those chores create a ritual and a habit, and it puts you in a mindset of, I rule you. And it makes you feel
What
confident.
was that you just said? What?
I rule you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to say it like that too. You can't just say, I rule you. You can't say it softly, And it's not like you're trying to, yeah.
What does your wife say when you say that?
She says, you want the...
I just want to know what kind of response you get.
She says, do you want the people's elbow?
Besides sleeping on the couch.
She goes WWF on me big time. She goes...
I'm thinking how happy your wives are that you guys make your beds. I mean...
It's a simple thing. It's a simple thing.
I don't want to say that that's woman's work. Kidding, guys. Totally.
No, but it just little things. It sets your mind.
My wife enjoys the housework, so I'm just joking. But yeah,
no,
you're right.
Your wife is Vincey's awesome.
It's more than even what you're saying. The run, I mean, it changes a lot. I mean, this body is such a chemical factory, and so I think when you raise your heart rate, you get certain chemicals flowing. There's more of let's just call them good and bad chemicals. I mean, we can call them endorphins. You can call, I don't know what the bad chemicals are that make you feel depression. Maybe it's lack of certain chemicals. But there's proven studies that when you work out, you release those endorphins and those things that make you feel better, look better, make you look younger. I mean, they literally change the aging process or slow down the aging process. So I think it's even more, I think the ritual is part of it. But again, that is one of the biggest things I got from the great life that I had growing up, great parents and the strict rules in certain ways. Like if we start something, I think I want to play football, Dad. Okay, well, you're going to do it for the whole year. That's fine until the second practice. And you're like, I want to quit. Well, you can't quit. You started. So those kind of things are the things that made me successful later. Because if I decide to do something like get a job at a salon I shouldn't have went to right at first, I stayed there that whole first year, and I'm like, this was a terrible decision. And after a year, I realized, okay, I got a little clientele built, go to the next one. Still wasn't the best decision, but you know what I did when I went there? Now there was no cell phones when I did it. So this was what I was going to kind of go into with these private rooms for hairdressers. It's like owning your own business, but maybe you weren't ready to own your own business kind of situation. And that's where a big struggle comes from too. So you've got this good habit of making the bed and running in the morning. What a hairdresser doesn't necessarily have as a good habit when they open their own business in a rental situation, but it's okay. I like what Giovanni said. Some of you guys are there. So let's talk about the good habits you should have while you're there. One is determine your work hours. And when you go there at the time you said you'd go there and the time you said you'd leave, stay there. Go ahead, plan it for lunch. Choose to work certain hours. And what that means is work on your business, even if you're not working in your business. You don't have a client for the first 3 hours of the day, but you got ready, got dressed, got your hair done, you showed up to work and you sit there for 3 hours. Do something to make your business move forward, whether it's Facebook posts, Instagram posts, phone calls, marketing somehow. There's things you can do
Start
that
a
don't.
blog or a vlog, any of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Lots of options.
make the schedule, and that will help you out. Make the schedule, raise your prices. What was that other one I had said earlier? There was those two that oh well, that's two. I'm trying to think of. I like what you said earlier. Some people have already made the decision to go into a rental situation.
Yeah. So
now,
I would just say too this, like if you're already in a situation and you've been thinking negatively about the situation you're in, the only person that's hurting is you personally. So if you can turn that around and just say like, all right, I'm here now. I'm in this space. And is it ideal? No. But how can I make the best of it? What can I do to replace the negative thoughts with something positive? And I think that that's just a good way to think about mental health in general, is when you start to have a negative thought about something, how do you stop your brain from thinking about that? What can you do to distract yourself? If you look around my room here, I don't know if this will show or not, but I probably won't. I'll just describe it.
Here's what I do. I was going to say, get a dog.
Yeah. Well, I've got animals and all that stuff, but if you look around my basement, I've got drum set, guitars, bass, keyboards, music stuff, because that's one of the things that I love. So if I want to go disappear and do something productive, and stop thinking about the bad stuff that's going on, I've got that. Just going for a walk is something great. When you're at work and you have a client who just irks you, and instead of sitting in the back room and going through all the negative in your head, just go walk down the street, get a cup of coffee, say hi to some people, get your head out of work for a minute. And, there's simple things like that that will change the whole outlook of the rest of your day if you take the time to do it. And and I think that I'll be the first to tell you, I have therapy. I go to therapy once a month. It used to be once a week. I've been seeing my therapist for a long time. You have idiots out on social media right now like Andrew Tate talking about how therapy is wuss's game, and if you're a real man you shouldn't do that and this and that, whatever. I'm the opposite. I feel like if you have the ability to, and the want and desire to make yourself better, and that's a great way of doing it, do it. That to me shows more strength than anything, because you're not out there trying to be cool for anybody else or any of that stuff, no matter how much you think it is. All of that is an insecurity. It's a mental blockage that keeps you and hinders you from being the true best version of you. And the sooner you can figure that out, the reason why I'm so passionate about this subject is because I feel like I waited too long to figure it out in my own life. And I want these young people that are coming in struggling to figure it out in their 20s, not in their mid 30s or close to 40 like I did. Like, don't wait so long. Just get on that path now and start doing things to make you healthy and happy. And choose that life. Choose to be the best version of you. And if it starts by waking up and making your bed every morning, do it. Whatever it is.
I'm not.
So then,
hey, you know what's wrong with therapy? The name. That's it. It's a mental coach. That's all it is.
yeah.
Who doesn't want to coach to get better in a certain area of life?
Exactly.
I clean my station before and after every single person.
I gotta go, guys. Y'all are
You shush you. You hate cleaning. You hate cleaning.
I don't, but I think it's great that you guys
you have to clean your station every single time. Okay, how many times I've walked into a studio and there is just crap everywhere.
Can you tell Brennan?
Brennan, listen to me, boy. Okay, pick up your stuff. No, it's you have to clean your station. You have to organize your mess. You have to be. You can't be in clutter. Clutter, like just makes you more claustrophobic, and
use what he's saying as a metaphor for your brain and your life.
Yeah,
clean your station, organize your stuff, because Bernard may not make his bed or clean his station, but he's got his brain cleaned out.
His brain is empty. There's no clutter in his brain.
Well, I just mean he's got structure in his life, and that's what keeps him from falling into the negative stuff.
No, but that's what it is. Yeah, clutter, physical, right. That's actually great. Physical clutter, mental clutter, whatever it is, get rid of that. That's one thing I do physically. Mentally, I do not use the words "I'm sorry." I do not apologize very often, if at all.
It is surprising that you're married.
Yeah, right?
You know what?
Oh my God.
No, because look, here's
I say it like daily.
you say it daily. All right,
Pretty much.
here's my rule with Carmelina. Here's my rule with Carmelina. At the end of the night, or throughout
Carmelina.
Huh?
Who's Carmelina?
My wife, man.
Kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
She used to be my wife, not after this, apparently.
I know. Hoping she doesn't.
No. So I've adopted this with clients, and I do this with Carmelina as well, too. Okay. If something happens, I want to know in the moment that something happened. My side of the promise is that I will be patient. As much as it may upset me or piss me off, I promise that I will try to be as patient as possible and listen to the complaint in the moment. But I am not apologizing for nothing, because I did what I did. I own what I did. And I meant to do whatever I did. Maybe I didn't mean it to be as harsh as it seemed to be or as it came out to be. But my intention was to do whatever it was I was doing, because I did feel that was the best thing I should be doing. Now, at the end of the moment, if I come to realize I went too hard, I went too fast, I went too strong, too heavy, too whatever, okay, then I can say, in the future moving forward, I will try to dial it back some. I won't try to be as aggressive. I will try to correct the issue. This is the plan on how we're going to correct that issue. But I'm not apologizing for what I did, because that doesn't fix nothing. Words are empty.
There's a lot of truth in that. I have some friends who, and I'm not much different. This friend of mine, our wives talk about how our wives can't just apologize to us. I don't just take an apology. So I like what you do, actually, because if something happens in my life and somebody goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," what are you sorry for? What do you think you did? I'm sorry because I can tell I offended you. Well, that doesn't do me any good. If you're just sorry, no good to me. I want to know what you actually, do you know what you did to offend me? Because that takes effort. And then how are we going to change it in the future?
It kills your confidence.
I want you to
apologizing kills your confidence.
How the future is going to be different. Then I believe the sorry. So I do like what you're saying there.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're still on mental health, are we?
Yeah,
Giovanni?
that is.
We are. It's a version of it. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Good.
So to just go back to that a little bit, and what I'm hearing on the mental health side too is, we're talking about it.
This, Eddie, Giovanni.
No, it's all good. But we're talking about our wives and the relationships with our wives and stuff like that, and how it transfers and everything like that. My point is this, and this is something that I think the young generation needs to really fully understand, is that the people that you have conflict with that are closest to you, those are the people that truly love you. Because it's more now that it seems like there's just conflict. But the reality is, those are the people that love you the most. And I tell my kids this all the time. You may not like me because I don't let you do all the things you want to do all the time or have what you want to have. But the reason I'm doing it is because I love you. And because I don't want you to develop bad habits. And I want you to be the best version of yourself. Same thing with my employees. They hate me sometimes, and that's okay. I'm fine with it, because my intention is to make them the best that they can be. And I reiterate that to them a lot, especially after I have to reprimand them, because the whole goal is for them to know that I am empathetic towards them. I value them. I care about them, and their success is my success, not the other way around. It's not because of me that they're going to be successful. It's because of them that they're going to be successful, because they make the choice. I can't take their hands and puppeteer them to do it. They have to choose to do it. And once they fully understand that and they stop living in this world of instant gratification, and that's where instant gratification kind of comes into play with this younger generation. It's just people pleasing. It is letting people make you feel good whether or not you're doing the right or the wrong thing. Morally, I don't think any of these people would be on OnlyFans if they were listening to what their parents thought and not caring about the money and not realizing how they're going to look in 10 years when it comes to an employer, when it comes to their kids who they don't have yet, who are going to be able to find mom and dad butt naked doing crazy things on OnlyFans in the future. Like, there's not the thought process that comes
Right.
through, and they're just looking at right now, well, I've got a Lamborghini and I live in this crazy house and I'm 22 and I'm making $100,000 a month, and that's great. But what is that doing for your spirit? What is that doing for your soul? What is that doing for your insides that aren't really going to come out until you're too ugly and saggy and gross to be on OnlyFans? Then what are people going to think of you, and who are you going to be as an individual? You know what I mean? That thought process comes from the people that love them, that are trying to stop them from doing it, and they're ignoring that. So that's how I take what you guys are saying on the mental health side and kind of bring it back full circle, is that the reason why we have that relationship with our wives and we butt heads and we do that is because they're showing us love in the most authentic way.
And it's the same thing with the clients. I translate that to the clients. We
True,
love
yeah.
this industry. I love doing hair. I love making clients happy and seeing that smile when they look themselves in the mirror after I'm done doing their color, their hair extension, their haircut, whatever service, and they sit up and they feel good. It's like, damn, yes, I helped this person do that. I teach a class and the stylists leave afterwards, and the stylists are like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the salon and I'm gonna rock. Like, that is awesome. And that passion is what brings up that positivity. It's such a sensitive thing, because as soon as something negative happens, whether it's a bad experience with a client or it's a failed person in a class, a stylist in a class, you're like, I feel bad. I failed my child. I failed my loved one. I failed that person. I failed myself, and that's where, like, yeah, we joke about the relationship with our wives, but it translates into the clientele and into the industry as well too. And at the end of the day, we are individually the common denominator in all of those interactions. So we have to be the pillar of strength for ourselves, to ourselves.
And once you really truly wrap your head around that, you're only responsible to yourself. You're not responsible as far as your inner thoughts go. You're not responsible to anyone else with your inner thoughts. However, we let our inner thoughts affect everyone else when we choose to go down that negative path. And that's the thing. It's like, it's a very simple concept, but very difficult to do. And the sooner and the more you practice letting negativity go and focusing on the positive and the right now, and if something comes up that's a problem, that instead of focusing on the problem, you're focusing on the solution to the problem. Those two things are just going to actively change the whole course of who you are.
That's really good. I'm going to mention something that changed my life. I wasn't always super confident and felt great about myself. Part of my bringing up, it was a good bringing up, but it was like, be quiet, kids are not to be heard. So I did grow up kind of lacking self-confidence. And where it started to come for me, good work ethic is what I got from my parents, and a strong sense of, I will be successful. I don't know how, it'll just happen. But where the change in confidence and belief and things in my head changed was network marketing is what did it for me. I did never make it in any of these network businesses, but Amway, it was one of the first network marketing businesses. And it wasn't that it was network marketing that changed my life. It was the process that they had. And back then it was cassettes. You got 2 cassettes a month. I got on a plan where I paid my $10 or $11 a month. I got my cassettes. I plugged them into the tape player, put it on the side of the bed, and that's what me and my wife listened to as we're going to sleep every night. And it was positive reinforcement, and every night of hearing this good stuff. And so one time at a function, a motivational speaker showed an example that really helped me. It's kind of it helps me out with everything in my life, even eating. I can't think of like how to change my diet and say what bad stuff should I quit eating. That doesn't work for me. For me, it's more like what good stuff should I add in. And so he takes this pitcher of Kool-Aid, and it's red, starts pouring clear water in it, and says, did it make a difference? Not yet, not yet, not yet. But as you keep pouring this clean, good, different stuff in, eventually all the red comes out. And so with motivation, with friends, with food, I think what's the good stuff that I can put in? It's going to be hard for me to stop drinking a bad drink. But if I start drinking these juices and I do that 4 or 5 or 6 times a day, I have room for the Coke or the Pepsi or the bad stuff because I'm putting so much good in. So at night when I was listening to these motivational cassettes, I got to the point where I was like, I need to make sure I have a cassette player in the vehicle I have, and I listen to it on the way to work, on the way home. All of a sudden, after months and months of doing this, my brain was just changed. I thought more positively, and it's so easy now, like you said, Eddie. Until this day, I hardly ever listen to music in the vehicle. I will put on YouTube, and it's not to watch the videos, but it'll be something either educational or motivational, something that's going to teach me how to be a better person, how to do a new marketing campaign, how to do something that's going to make my life better. And I'm listening to it. It's sitting on the side of the tub if I decide to take a bath. It's sitting on the counter if I'm brushing my teeth. It's driving on the way to work. I'm listening. So as often as I can now, I don't have to depend on a cassette player anymore. I've got this freaking phone and I've got YouTube. I pay the $10 or $12 a month for YouTube Red, so I have no commercials and I can turn the screen off and it keeps on playing because I paid a few extra dollars for that. Best investment ever. So I choose the education and the motivation that I want, and it's going in. Sure, I'm getting some of that bad stuff, and I do try to cut out some of the bad stuff. And one last advice for that customer you hate, guys, get rid of them. Fire a client if you have to.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no amount of money that's worth being miserable.
Right.
And there's enough clients out there for everybody.
That's true. And enough good ones for each and every one. And some people will straighten out that bad client. And I mean, I've taken enough bad clients, and when I got to the point where I had a strong enough personality, I can handle a bad client that maybe the lady down the street cannot, because it'll affect them mentally. I got to the point where I said, hey, my happiness is more important than this complaining you're doing. I'm doing a good job on your hair a few times. I don't know why all of a sudden you feel like you have to treat me like that. We won't be able to do your hair anymore if you keep acting like that. And they apologize and they change and we keep doing their hair. So there are some of us hairdressers out there that can, maybe they needed a little like, hey, maybe your husband was mean to you this morning, but that's not me.
Don't take it out on me. Yeah.
You're right. Let's back it up a little bit. And they'll apologize and get better. So some of you guys don't have that skill yet. It's better just to get rid of the client. I have a chiropractor appointment in about an hour, so we got to wrap this up, guys.
Well, I have a question for Giovanni. So we're not sponsored today by these organizations. But I wanted to ask, and I wanted to bring some awareness or attention to these organizations. The first one here is To Write Love on Her Arms. TWLOHA.com. It's in the description of this video as well too. But what is To Write Love on Her Arms?
So I picked 2 charities, and I specifically picked them for multiple reasons. But To Write Love on Her Arms is just it's a mental health charity organization that raises money to fund mental health programs that cover a multitude of things. When you look online, there are some very large mental health organizations that When it's the biggest one, the number one and number two organizations, I have a tendency just to step away from donating to those. Mainly just because when those organizations are huge, you really truly don't know where the money's going.
Right.
So I always step away from those. So this one is still in the list of one of the top 10 organizations, but it's a smaller organization that does community mental health outreach in all the communities, but they stick to like small communities, small settings, and things like that. And that's where I think in the rural areas need the most care, because a lot of the larger cities still have funding and it hasn't been taken away as much as it has in the rural areas. And then the other one is the Trevor Project, and the Trevor Project is specific to the LGBTQ community. And just because we are in the beauty industry, there is a extremely large percentage of people that fit into that, and they deal with specifically the issues that that community deals with mental health as well. And I think it's important for them to have a safe space where they have camaraderie of people that can help them that are familiar with theirs. I'm straight, so I'm not familiar with the gay community's mental health issues in full like these people that work at the Trevor Project would be. And that's why I chose those two. Charities, obviously, you guys can donate as much as you want to, but I will put this into play. And the reason why I wanted to get on some of these charities and get them involved is because we used to have state funding for mental health, and that has gone away significantly compared to what it used to be. And we used to have federal mental health funding that has gone away significantly compared to what it used to. And the therapists that I talk to are so booked that they're desperate need for more therapists to come out of school just to help support, because they can't take any more people. And you have these organizations that are there as not a therapist, but kind of a therapist. They have been trained in understanding how to help people with issues and communicate those tools that we can all use in order to better our lives. So I thought it was just an important thing to do. With my product company, Giovanni, we're actually going to be working with some charities and donating a percentage of the profits to the one of the charities that we pick. And we'll be probably changing those charities up annually just to kind of spread the wealth amongst all the different organizations out there. But I'm also in the process of creating a t-shirt and hat line that will be 100% of that money will go directly to the charities as well. And I can't say the name of it right now because it's got some language in it, but it's Uneff It. And it's just something that I've used as like my little tagline, where I just got to uneff my brain, or I got to uneff my life, or and that's what we're going to do here is have shirts and hats that just say that. And on the back, it's going to say therapy or therapists are the real MVPs, because I think that that's important to promote and get people out there talking, especially in this cell phone and social media age. The more person-to-person conversation you can have, whether it's on the phone as a phone call, but you're physically talking to someone, the better off you are.
That's good.
That is great. It is. It's
Okay.
in the description. Yeah, it is in the description. Look, guys, all of you watching this, you're not alone. We hear you. We're thinking about you. This is why we did this today. The posts that are out there on the Profitable Stylist on Facebook got an overwhelming response. You're not alone. There's others out there like you feeling like that. Reach out. Reach out.
I'm at Rizzo Hair on Instagram. I'm at Rizzo Hair on TikTok. On Facebook, I'm Giovanni Rizzo. Look me up. Find me. Message me, DM me. If you're struggling or going through a hard time or just have a question and need an answer. I'm not a therapist, but I am very happy to help with my personal experiences and offer some tools that I've used personally that have helped me. I can't guarantee whether they're going to work for you or not, but I'm here for you.
Yeah. And say the same thing. This is why we do this is why we created the Profitable Stylist, for that same,
help.
exactly. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for
Over and out.
watching. We'll catch you next